Let's save 4,500 developer years of time. That's the banger statement that Amazon claimed, because they used AI to migrate shit ton of old legacy applications to modern versions. And it's tied to Java, but I won't go deep into it. But I will focus more on the real impact. And this is what they did. They had to upgrade from old Java versions, like Java 8 to Java 17, I think, their old legacy applications. And that's where AI is great, as we'll soon find out. But it's not always great. There are people who will keep telling us that we will lose our jobs, that AI will replace us, and that it will be really hard to continue our work as we do it now. But what's the catch? This guy from Stability AI, he's no longer there. This guy, oh, we shouldn't teach kids programming. Why? Because if we will program with large language models, he will sell more GPU cards, and it will give him more money. So those banger claims are great for people who have money in it, but the reality is something different. This is my reaction to those statements. And we need to start with something more core to the programming. What is programming? We could say it's writing code, but it's not all we do. We need to think, so we go deeper. It's transforming some logical tasks into code and into requirements. And we can go even deeper. It's understanding the problems and designing solutions that solve the problems. So now, when we know what programming is, we can focus on the real impact of AI, where it's good and where it's bad. I will show some examples in the presentation, and then I will go into some real tools I use, how I use them, and why did I choose them specifically, because we have insane amount of tools, and they have all bold claims. Like, who here knows about Devin AI? All right. So I have links to the code that Devin wrote, and it's utter shit, nothing else. So the best use cases for AI that I identified alone and also while working with my clients, because I'm consultant for companies like T-Mobile, Saska, these are 6 best cases where you can use AI. First one is automation. That's what Amazon did. If you need to migrate the code from some legacy version, you have changelog, you have some migration, and if they didn't give you some migration files that will make it automatic, you can use AI for this, like renaming function, changing parameters. It's pretty straightforward task that AI can do sometimes. Other thing is that it's great for repetitive activities, like writing some mappers from database and something that's often boring and nobody wants to really do it. And right now, we have tools that can eliminate such boring tasks. We have frameworks, we have libraries, and sometimes it works well, and sometimes we need AI to do it because we have legacy code base, we have some constraints that we need to fulfill. And that's where AI is great. Next thing I really love is research. Yesterday, I've had kind of similar talk at FrontCon, because I'm front-end developer, ex-front-end developer, and the guy before me, he spoke about his creation of library focused on local applications. He needed to do some really deep research, and what he said was one thing: AI always hallucinates, but sometimes it's true. And that's the better approach. If we treat it like AI sometimes hallucinates, we can get into pyramid of doom, because we will trust it more as we use it, and it will eliminate our care for code. And it's really great for research, because this guy had to implement many things for CRDTs, for conflict-free replication data structures. I don't know the exact name for CRDTs. And he needed to do it in SQL because of performance, and SQL is actually Turing complete if you want to. So he did it. But he used AI with the code, and sometimes it didn't even work. And sometimes there were some small things that he was like, this could work. What's the performance impact? And he discussed with AI, and it actually brought him to some good ideas, even though it wasn't able to write full solution for him. Next thing I really love is Ticket Buddy. I get a lot of tickets, and I've had them in the past that were really short and could be understood in many different ways. So we can use AI to specify tickets way better, to have acceptance criteria, to work with company definition of done, and it will be incorporated into the tickets we have. And it's an assistant for me and for my clients as well. It can also help us as we already have the ticket, because we can ask some questions, some tips and tricks, and we can find edge cases. We can write tests with edge cases. So it's continuous process where we can use AI really deeply. Next point is documentation. Who here loves writing documentation? Wow, great. Yeah, and that's awesome use case, because sometimes we have complex programs that are not well documented, and in front-end development and in JavaScript ecosystem, we have a tool called Webpack. It's a really huge tool with lots of APIs, and it's confusing to understand them all. There are only few people who know the methods and how to use Webpack really deeply. And one of the co-creators of Webpack and creator of Module Federation, which is like microservices but for front-end and micro front-ends, you can combine it. He decided to use AI to write documentation for Webpack. It's publicly available in the repository, and I will show it to you, because it can help a lot with the documentation. Of course, you always need to control it. Otherwise, you can write some pretty bad thing. Next thing is prototyping. Those claims that we won't need programmers were there even when Webflow started for applications. When we've had Adobe Dreamweaver, we could click websites. It was great, right? And it was great for prototyping, but there were limits. And it's the same thing with AI, because AI can get us really far. But when we hit the limits, it can be really problematic. And I like the parallel with low-code and no-code tools. Clients can create prototype, and then they reach some limit. They go to the specialists, and then they are like, yeah, it took me 20 hours. Why would it take you 1 month to fix this thing? Because your architecture is non-existent. Because people without experience in creating applications and in making good architecture, they don't know the constraints, they don't know the problems that AI can choose for them. It will pick libraries for you, it will pick tools for you, it will pick a stack that might not be good at all for your type of application. So it's great for prototyping, but when you reach the limits, it can be problematic. And I also think that it will be really hard to program in just English to fix all our problems. The reason that languages have some constraints, some keywords, is there for purpose. And we have like many dialects, we have many different languages, so not everybody in the world could learn English, as well as not everybody could learn only Java. So we need to be a bit picky about the approach of using everything with AI, because it will be a long pile of shit in the future. There are already applications that are purely written by AI, and you need AI to just understand it. And it's a really insane chaos. Next thing I really love is debugging, because you find a bug or you have report in Sentry and somewhere else, and then you go on Google, on Stack Overflow, you search for solutions, but sometimes the solution is not even on Google, like on the first pages. You need to dig really, really deep. And as AI has a lot of content inside it, it can find the dots and lines between your problem and something else and actually help you solve it, because you would query it somehow different. And that's also what I love. For good usage of AI, it's great to know how to ask questions, but it's not only for AI. Knowing how to ask good questions is important everywhere. It was important when we asked Google, it's important when we ask our manager, and it's important when we ask AI. So it's good to practice this skill, because it will not fade away. The real experiences I have with AI, and they are of two types. First one is positive. It's way shorter list, but I think that some of them will transform from negative to positive. First thing, as I said, repeated activity. I won't go deeper into it. Next is testing. And it's not just writing code for tests, it's finding edge cases. It's discussing how we can prevent things from happening again. So we get bug report, we fix it, and we can ask if there are any problems that could come with our solution. And we specify tests as text, validate them, and then if we have good specification, we can continue with the implementation, and it can be limited automation that's actually good. But we need to have good specification, good search query for AI. Next thing I really love and have great experience is improving pipelines and creating them for CI/CD. I know a lot of applications that are still deploying manually without any automation, and some teams don't even have DevOps team, DevOps people, and with AI it can be solved pretty fast, and the results are pretty great. There are also negatives in using AI, and there are low quality results. First one, and it's focused mostly on front end, this one, is UX and accessibility. Applications need to be specified, and some countries actually enforce accessible applications that have good enough contrast and stuff like that. And AI doesn't know the little nuances unless you specifically tell it to do so. And it's the same thing with user experience. You need data from your users. You need to connect the dots. You need to have some experience. And that's where AI sucks for now. Next thing that's pretty negative is lesser known languages. AI is built on a lot of data. And when we don't have enough data, it just won't write correct code, and it will be really problematic. IBM realized it because they have a lot of legacy code bases. They use COBOL, Fortran. So what they did is they trained AI that was focused on 116 languages, including older ones, with their own proprietary code bases. And it's great because they solved the problem for them, but it doesn't solve problem for many newer languages. And that's one of the things where I believe that AI will make the difference between unused and used languages even bigger, because it will recommend solutions in JavaScript, it will recommend solutions in Java, and it won't explore new things because it's not enough in the data set. And that's a bit connected to embedded and low-level development on devices. And there's one more thing. You need to control memory really hard, and that's where AI has problems, because it doesn't understand many nuances, and unless you compile the code, validate if there are no memory leaks, it can write pretty complex code that will be hard to debug unless you know what you do. And it's same thing with security-intensive code, and it's one more thing. We already have many attacks that focus on code that is copied from Stack Overflow. There are many people who just copy-paste authorization. And it's best thing you can do as a hacker to try if this implementation is broken and massively scan multiple websites. And it's already happening in the AI space. You ask AI, please implement authorization service, and it will give you some code. You will copy-paste it to your code base, review it, and because AI writes pretty long code, it doesn't like to be short and concise. Other colleague will come and he's like, yeah, good PR, only 1,000 lines, approve. And there are scans for this, and it's problematic. Companies focus on this. They try to use some scans for vulnerabilities. And as we get better, I think that AI will also get better if you also focus on it. I really like what Google did, because you can do some great optimizations and even develop in like lesser known languages. Who here knows assembler? Okay, do you write it often? Yeah, so Google needed to implement better sorting algorithm, but they didn't use LLM. They used fork of AlphaGo, which is a model that beat people in a game called Go. And it was alpha code, I believe. And what they did is they wrote assembly code that was actually faster than all the implementations we already have. And it wrote it on assembly level. And it was specifically focused on optimization of code. And it wasn't large language models. So we can still have specific solutions that will improve code that will focus on some specific areas. So not everything, not every AI is large language model. And we need to move forward a lot to have like general software engineer that will work for us and that will be reliable. Next thing is complex business logic. And by complex business logic, I mean understanding core values of your business, what brings money and how it's connected to the code, to implementation, and really understanding this. And AI can't do it if you don't prompt it to do so. It still has to be led this way, and it can give you some recommendations. It can help you with improving the business, but that's the value that senior plus and staff plus engineers have. They know the business, they know the domain logic. Last but not least, I know I'm on backend meetup, is consistent visual results. Many companies have design systems, and AI is pretty bad in using your brand colors, your existing design systems, and it will get better. There is a company called Builder.io. They are making visual CMS, where you can drag and drop everything, and they will soon have a huge announcement of using your own design system to build websites with all the information you have about the components and everything you have. So what should you focus on for the future to be relevant? First thing is architecture. AI knows a lot of solutions. It can tell you, yeah, just use microservices for everything. And it will give you tons of variations, but it doesn't know the impact on your business and how it should work. So software architects will be really important in the future. Next thing is domain knowledge. Each domain has specifics, like travel has different specifics than accounting, than sports. So if you understand the connection of business and code, you can be really, really important. And it's under one thing, it's business understanding. You connect it, you work with it, and then you can really bring value to your business. I like a story of Ryan Peterman, his staff engineer at Meta, Instagram. And what he did is he understood the business value of Instagram videos, that it's really important. It's one of the core things for Instagram. And what he did is he focused really hard on this, and he eliminated a lot of post-processing of videos, improved the pipeline, which saved the company billions. And he wrote one thing on Twitter, X, 1 week ago, and he was like, yeah, now I started using AI, and it immediately downscaled 80% of my skills to 0 value. But 20% I do, it skyrocketed. It outnumbered everything else I knew in the past, because I can focus more on the domain and architecture. And now I will show some tools that I personally use and love. What editors do you use? Hands up for idea-based editors. As expected. Is anybody here using VS Code? Yeah, so I have great news for VS Code users because I'm a VS Code user. But there are also other tools that can be used in idea-based editors. First thing is that for coding, I actually prefer Claude AI over ChatGPT, and it gives you a lot of good results. Even O1 is not often as good as Claude, and I'm really looking forward to their new model, which will be the largest of their family. So I can recommend Claude. It works exactly as ChatGPT, and it has great feature because you can actually now it's also in some way in ChatGPT, but what you can do is have some workspaces, so it can write in other parts, so it's not in the chat, and you can iterate on it, copy it, and sometimes it can even write full code that can be run. Yeah, so it can even make like full interactive playgrounds. You could publish it, and there are already like quizzes that are automatically evaluated with the code. So I really recommend Claude, and I just prefer sometimes copy pasting rather than integration in editors, and it's like worth the power. On other hand, it can be problematic if you need to understand your code base, and that's where other tool comes, and it's also usable for everybody because it's actually CLI utility. And I really like what author of Aider does. He always publishes how much code in this release wrote AI, and recently he said that Aider wrote 70% of new release of Aider. And you can use it in CLI. It even has some UI. And what's great is that you don't even need to worry about security, because it can use local AI models, and it can use your own API keys. So it's a really great tool. It's flexible, and if you are using Amazon and you have Bedrock and everything, you can integrate basically every tool you want, and it can even map the code base you have. So it will analyze with abstract syntax tree and some other techniques to understand your code base. Next thing, but it's only for VS Code, is Wingman AI. And it's also great. Just as Aider, it is open source and it can connect to any AI model you possibly want to have. And now they released the same thing that Cursor does, which is advanced AI editor that is fork of VS Code. And they have like workspaces where it can prompt you the changes of your code so we can accept it or not. So it's not directly tied to your coding experience, it's something outside of usual coding flow, and it works really well. Personally, I don't use GitHub Copilot because I find it the least of the worst of the AI coding assistants that are like publicly known. I haven't tried the new 0.1 version yet, but it's like, why should I use this tool if I have open source tools that are way better, way more flexible? And what's also great is that with open tools, I can measure how much I use the AI and if it has the impact on my performance and how much it costs me. If you would use AI a lot, it might be sometimes better to just pay subscription for GitHub Copilot rather than using your own API keys. But for most of the people, it will be on par. Next thing is that Copilot is focused more on the experience inside the editor and not like the workflow outside, just like Wingman does. And it doesn't work well while working between multiple files. And for testing, it's for end-to-end testing. This is a tool from ByteDance, TikTok company, and engineers working there. And it can really focus on writing end-to-end tests. And it freezes the locators and everything it does. So it's really great because there are other tools like AutoPlaywright, and those tools, they tell you, yeah, we can auto-repair your tests. What the fuck? I don't want the test to be auto-repaired when I fuck up the production. I want to know that there's an error. So this is the thing that I use personally and I love. And what I do is I'm a consultant in development. I work with Saska, T-Mobile. There's Travelport company here in this campus as well. And I'm fanatic of AI and modern technologies. And I used AI before COVID. It was extension called Tab9. Now it's like way worse compared to others, but it was great experience back then. I'm founder of 2 companies. Also, one is modular education platform, and second one is Nauč mě IT, which is company focused on helping juniors start in IT, in testing and programming, and connecting them to companies where they can get real-world experience. I have a small gift for you because I will start courses that will be focused on the real practical usage of AI for developers. And under the link you will find email waitlist. And as I will launch the courses, you can have a launch discount if you join now. And here as promised, I have some resources which I can really recommend. This one is generated API docs for Webpack, and it gives you the example of usage. And I think that this is like extraordinary good documentation compared to non-existent one that was there before. Also, I can recommend the channel Internet of Bugs. It's not focused on AI. It's not some overhyped guy, but it's a guy that focuses on eliminating bugs. And he has a lot to say about impact of AI on the code. And he tests it in some pretty simple cases where AI fails. For example, in this video, he used new O1 model, and it couldn't even code simple HTTP server in Python. And there are like great exercises that are focused on your self-development, and there are like many tasks implementing from simple get handler to more and more advanced features. And he uses this to test AI. There are even more advanced things like implementing your own Docker, implementing your own Redis, and AI fails in basically anything he tries to use it. And he uses it in good prompting techniques. It's not like, yeah, I will use some weak model and blame AI for not being good. Here is to-do application from Devin. And as we can see from the code, it deliberately chose some technologies for us. It didn't even ask, and the application has problems with light and dark mode, with some contrast. And last but not least is the pull request from Devin. And I just love the comments there, because people from Devin company were like, yeah, extraordinary milestone. And then there were real maintainers of the repository. And yeah, we don't need this. It's creepy. It didn't even learn about atomic integers. And there's one more thing, how you can identify what code was written by AI. It adds shit ton of unimportant comments. And it adds it like everywhere, default execute for error. Why?
Actually, they took just money, no? And they left already.
Yeah, it's one of the companies that built the hype, and we don't hear about them anymore. So we'll see the final result. And there's a lot of money in this area. And right now there was another drama that Y Combinator funded 2 competing companies focused on the AI editor experience. And one of them was a real creator, and second one, they just use all their code, even though it was MIT licensed, and renamed every occurrence of the previous editor. And they even stated in the commit message, now it's ours.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you used some AI agents?
Yeah. What I used is actually microagent, which is actually a reliable coding agent. And this is like their approach. They are not trying to have some generic super agentic approach. They just write tests, write code, and iterate on it in agentic approach. And there are like many different ways, but none of them is really reliable.
What's an agent?
Agent is, how to describe it simply? Yeah, it's
Autonomous, like AI.
Yeah, it's autonomous service that can act on your behalf or on AI behalf. So you can have like agent that scrapes the web, and many more services. So it's basically service that can be controlled by AI, and AI can choose which approach to take, and it can iterate indefinitely. If you don't limit it, it can be problematic because it ends in the loop and it will just burn insane amount of money. So I will end. You can scan the QR code. There's full presentation and everything you want to. And so, are you code monkeys? Will you be replaced by AI? Congratulations.
I think not AI is constant. I think more will come low-code platforms and scaffolding or internal developer platforms, and then AI will build with this
Yeah, there's newly released tool, which is bold.new. It's from StackBlitz, and there you can create full application. It can even deploy the application for you, and it's actually like one of the better tools there are, but I haven't tried it yet, so I don't recommend it to use it because I don't have enough experience, and I always recommend only things that I actually use. So, any questions?
Can you please show the third link? Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. This one is like medium length, and what they did is they evaluated the impact of AI, because Microsoft claims that developers are 55% faster, and yeah, they are faster in repetitive tasks. But how often do you implement factorial function? It just doesn't make sense. And they focused more on real impact of code, and there's one great table. And there are trends in commit line operations, and we are growing copy-pasted code. That's another problem of AI, because it's really great in writing new code, more code, but it doesn't reuse existing one. So we can have like 10 implementations of some string functions, and it really reduces the code that is reused. And there's one great thing also, and it's code churn. It's the metric where they evaluated what amount of code is changed within 2 weeks from being committed to the repository, and it's growing. We could interpret it as positive because we are iterating fast and we are trying things, but the reality is, from their analysis, is that it's mostly the code that's changed because it was broken. It was written by AI, they had to fix it, and it's still growing. So we'll have code churn, and I don't think it will be only code that is written like in fast iterative way. I can recommend reading this completely.
What about the drop-in moves code?
Yeah, it's next thing, and it doesn't like move the code from one file into shared utility functions. It just writes new one. So it's a reduction of reused moved code.
Do you have another question?
In my presentation, I quoted this paper, and it's 40 years to go, and he predicts that AI is one of the hopes for the improvements. But it distinguishes between two types of AI. One are the language-based, and the second one calls them expert system, rule-based logical systems. And it's 40 years that he disagrees that first, the language-based first version will be the real improvement, and the second one, the expert system, logic-based AI, will be the real boost. Do you think that we are already there with the AIs we have right now, or is it still the first version?
Yeah, I think it's still the first version, because I have even some like predictions for AI, and I discussed it with experts like Tomáš Mikulov and Jan Romportl. And to actually have fully well-working software engineer that's AI-based, we need to understand more than just language. We need to understand the visual aspects. We need to understand the logs, even though it's like text-based. We need to understand like way more, and it's actually multimodal approach, because we can't have one model that will understand everything, because it will grow insanely. And it's like also visual for designs and everything. And right now, we are trying to grow the skill set of AI rather than limiting it in rules. So I don't think we are there yet. And I also think that this area is like widely unexplored.
And that alpha, I think to mention that is with expert logic type of AI.
Yeah, well, it's not language model because it's not using transformer architecture, but it's not also like fully rule-based. It's self-learning model. It's different family of AI, and it basically
Not fully logic.
yeah, it's not completely logical, and they used the pattern from AlphaGo where it just played against itself to improve, and that's actually what led to first lose of AI against the Go world champion, because he used some move that AI didn't even predict it to be good, so there was no exploration of this part, and that's how they beat it. But it was only for one time.